the webinar. Those of you who do not want to be seen, you can turn off your cameras and also change your names in the platform from the rename part on Zoom. Okay, I think most of us are already doing name, organization, country, and in case something that I didn't mention, if you want to share your email as well and your link with eParticipation. So today we have, as I said, as I already mentioned, that Marco from Erica is going to share with us a project they have been working on for the past couple of years. It's called Design, Innovative Youth Information Service Design and Outreach. And I think it's interesting to us because we all work in projects, and we're going to have a look at how through a systematic methodology we can create projects. And I think this is of interest to all of us because one of our main concerns has always been how can we reach to more young people. In the meantime, we have two other guests. Okay, so people are joining us now as well. So as I was saying, I think this is of particular interest to us of how we can find different ways to engage more young people, especially also those at a risk of social exclusion. With Marco, we will be looking at rethinking how youth information services are designed, creating tools and resources to reach out the maximum number of young people. And again, this is something we're looking at, that we need to be trained and use different channels to reach out to young people. I know that earlier on we had, for example, Ingrida sharing how we could use TikTok to reach out to a wider audience. But also, I think the most central part is the concept of having a user-centered approach. I think, Marco, we had a chat before we started. We'll be focusing on why one should try and adopt the design tools. And I think, Marco, you can take it over from here. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, so thanks everybody for being here. So I'll start to share my slides, and then I'll try and take about half an hour. And what I'm going to try and do is give you a sense of the design course. What is the course? How long does it take? What does it do? But also, I thought, I always find if I don't understand why I'm doing something, I really struggle. I struggle to understand, well, why am I going to do this? What's the benefits? So I've thought of, I'm doing a little bit of work around and the understanding of where does service design come from, and why does it relate to a whole load of other things. So let me just share this slide first. Okay. You should be able to see that now, I believe. And if I go full screen, you should be able to see that. Is that fine? Fine. So this is the core. This is so I'm a chief executive at Promo Cymru, but we worked with Erica on this and other nations, and so the course is called Design, Innovative Youth Information Service Design and Outreach. But it's a methodology, really. It's more a methodology than an end result. Okay. That's me. I'll just give you a quick background on myself. So I've been working in youth work and linking it to digital for a long time. I crossed over from paper to digital. I'm that old, but it's kind of, so I've seen like developments over a long period of time, and just saw that it was just so crucial that the way the world was going to work and the way the world is working, and especially for young people. and we can't ignore it. It's part of our normal existence really now. It's not different. We just give you an example of Promo Cymru. We run a helpline for young people in Wales, which is a text, instant message, and phone, and that runs 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we do a lot of information around that. So I'm on the Digital Strategic Group for Wales and the Wales Internet Safety Partnership, which I'm the chair. And Promo Cymru has a digital communications team of about 12 people. So between designers and service designers, etc. So we've developed like a kind of a strength there, really. And we do service design practice and training, both internally, how we develop things, but also we train across Wales and with the UK, with different organisations who are thinking of using, want to use service design as a methodology to think about how they're producing things. Okay. So this is the design. So Erica created this. There's a number of partners involved in this project. So you have Erica obviously put it together, and then Youth Work Ireland. You have yourself, Hencia from Malta, Valencia, Madrid, Luxembourg, Abo Academy is a university based in Finland who did a research paper on youth information, which is a useful piece. And Coordinati is from Finland, Finnish Youth Service, and Promo Cymru. And the two lead partners were Promo Cymru and Coordinati. Promo Cymru did most of the design work and the materials, and Coordinati did mainly the online e-learning course. But obviously we worked together, and then all the partners reviewed it and made sure it was, and tested it, and did that. So so this is just stuff I'm going to do, is just have a look at a few design examples and just looking in terms, and then looking at thinking in terms of new concepts, and the reduction of waste, which is kind of a key concept really that kind of flows previous to this. Look at why service design links back to the change it's been from mass production to lean production. I wonder how many people have come across the term lean production. Anybody? I can't see everybody, but the ones I can see haven't put their hands up, so that's fine. And then looking at this actual course, the Do It course. So this is kind of just some examples of design. If you look at these, this is some signs for parking taken from America. If you looked at that, you wouldn't have a clue whether you could park or you can't park. When can you park? When can't you park? And it shows kind of when things are not right. It's really, confusing. This is another one here. If anybody feel thirsty? Very nice, isn't it? Well, it's actually very dangerous because it's bleach and cleaning products. So whoever designed this didn't really think very clearly in terms of, how you design things and make it attractive for young people to drink when it's actually going to kill you. So it shows you kind of some things, even Fabuloso, I quite fancy the red one myself, but there we go. So you can see when it goes wrong, it's wrong, big time. So these are some of the course objectives. So the aim of the course is to rethink how services are designed, and then to create tools and resources to allow youth information workers to reach out. Talking with Simon, at the end of the day, the service design is a methodology that can be applied anywhere, really. It's not specific youth information. So that methodology is used, and then to optimize youth information service, and then to think about strategies to reach out to people. This is part of the why. This is an influential book. It's called The Machine That Changed the World. So this is the book that was the study on Toyota and cars, the production of cars. And you think, what the hell is that going to do with it? Well, this is the foundations that started looking, and if you look, you might not be able to read at the top of the top, it says Japan's revolutionary leap from mass production to lean production. So what the biggest change in the way things are made is the move from mass production to lean production. Virtually all products and services are largely made around using a new methodology of lean production and not mass production. And when Toyota started using this kind of methodology, it came from America originally, and then Toyota really took it up. They revolutionized how they made things. They revolutionized the car industry and took over, really. And especially at the time when they started working this way and nobody else was. And that killed a lot of different manufacturers. I know in Britain, most of the manufacturers in Britain weren't using lean production and disappeared. And today, virtually all cars are produced using lean production methodology. It's that revolutionary. It's most products and services are worked around this way of thinking. Some people will call it agile, lean, or there's loads of other names to it, but lean is the base level of it. So that kind of changed the way we think about things. And then slowly that way of thinking has gone into different services, has gone into healthcare, has gone into voluntary sector, has gone into various things. But this is about foundations of it. And a lot of foundations is about waste. And by waste is not doing things you don't need to be doing. Do not spend time doing things that are not useful for resources, etc. So a lot of the concept is around elimination of waste in a production process. And the second thing, and part of the whole thing, is the focus on the user. Okay, so it's about what people require and not thinking about technology. Okay, so if your answer to what is needed is a piece of technology, then you maybe haven't thought enough about the why and the people. So you have to start with the people to guide you towards that. So often people come say, oh, we need an app, or we need, and if you ask people, why do you need an app? They find it hard to explain all the details of why they need an app, because what they haven't done is start thinking from what's the user need. From the user need, then you develop what's required, not the solution being a piece of technology. So the difference between mass production and lean. So mass production is about assumptions and planning. It often overproduces, underproduces, no correction time, long time scales. There's an individual on the line producing something. The quality doesn't really get checked until it gets to the end of the process, which creates a lot of rework and waste. So an example is, if you're making a car, if you don't check the quality until the end of the process, you're going to have to bring the car back and fix it to go back. And it's more of a planning process, where lean production is, you may have heard of just in time, all that kind of stuff. Well, lean production is a demand-led process. You don't assume what you need, you only produce as soon as you get demand. Yeah. And then you produce what is demanded. So you very rarely get overproduction and underproduction, because the whole process is linked to the user. So you don't make things unless you know the user needs something. Iteration and correction is built in. So you're always, with lean, you're attempting to get better and change all the time to make it better straight away. You don't wait for things. You don't wait for the product to get to the end. You do it straight away. So it's fast change, tends to have a lot of team involvement. Quality is part of the process. And mistakes are rectified fast at any particular point. So you may find a mistake. Often the quoted is, if you find a mistake, everybody stops and rectifies the mistake before you carry on. You don't let mistakes travel up the process. And again, that includes reduction of waste. So that was the kind of a production methodology that's revolutionized how things are made in the world. It's all about reduction of waste. And then people started thinking, so you got the lean, and then people started thinking lean startup. How do you start a business? How do you start up things? And then service design. So if you if you think about waste, so you start making things and you start making it and make it quality and reduce waste. But what if you've started making a product that is the wrong product? If you start off making a product and you've already started something that you haven't really conceived well or understood what the user needs, then you start making a product that actually people don't actually want. So if you keep doing that, at the end of the process, you've spent a lot of time doing something that actually isn't, you haven't really thought or spent the time to understand, is that what is required? So if you do that, what you end up with is waste, because you've just spent a lot of time producing the wrong thing. So I think Elon Musk has a famous phrase on this, but that's, so a lot of service design is about making sure that the base of the product is on demand and not on assumption. So you're really working hard to understand that this is something that is the right thing to do. And then you're also testing behaviors, because people often say one thing and then they behave differently. They don't always do the thing. We tested a sexual health information tool with young people. When we asked them to find out previously what they would do, they could see all the information, and it said, do not go to the clinic for 2 weeks because your symptoms do not occur for 2 weeks. So do not go. So when we asked them, okay, you've seen the information. Yeah, they all saw the information. So what are you going to do? And their behavior is, I'm going to go tomorrow. So even though they saw everything, their behavior was completely different. And when we inquired, well, why did you do that? When they would say, because I was scared, because a lot of other things. And then we say, well, why? So what would make the difference? He said, well, if you could see a doctor speaking to us online, then that would help us change our behavior. So behaviors are very important. And to build in iteration is to build in constant change and quick change. You change straight away. You don't wait. Often there's an excuse, many excuses of why you can't change, why you can't do it better, because there's a process, or because I have to ask someone, or because I have to. And most of those are kind of need to go, really. And then you prototype small and you test. So you make things sometimes on paper, or you test it with people, really as small as you can, with as little expense as possible, and you test it, because it's only by testing something you've got a sense of actually, is it going to work or not. So you don't plan something that is with a big expenditure that's invented in your head about what it is without testing whether it's going to work or not, because how are you going to be such an amazing crystal ball gazer to understand how people are going to react? So you test straight away, and you build upon that testing so that you know where that is going to go. And be willing to pivot, change, and start again. So again, if we're testing something and you've tested it very small, and then you find out that it doesn't work, you don't keep on going, wasting more, develop an idea that's dead in the water because you found out that it's dead in the water, nobody wants to use it. Sometimes you've got to throw it away and start again. But what you've thrown away is only a little bit because you've tested small. You haven't spent 3 years and a lot of money producing something that you suddenly got to go throw away 3 years worth. Well, that's crazy. And that's back to the lean production systems. So concept is wasteful to spend lots of resources, time, energy producing the wrong product or service. So this is a visual representation of some of this. Really, you could see if you did the top line is more a kind of, it's called waterfall production. So you might produce the wheel, and then you're going to produce the axle and the car, and eventually by year 4, wherever you now have a car. So, but it's taken 4 years for you to get to a car. Okay, if you look at the bottom one, you start off, you think, well, what do I need? A young person needs some transport. Okay, well, a skateboard, let's try that. So a skateboard is easy to produce, you try it, and you test it straight away, and people say, actually, I need a handle, I need something to steer it to get to. And then you get a bike. So along the way, people are getting benefits, and you're learning from that. And then 4, you get a motorbike, and then 5, you get the car. But there's benefit all the way along that, benefit and learning. And at the end of the day, you've got a car, and actually people didn't want a roof, they wanted without a roof. So it gives you an idea, and that's the constant iteration process. And the top one is more like it's called a waterfall. And this is just another way of looking at it in terms of discover, plan, build, review. So waterfall is one big process. Agile is constant processes, it's a little wheel constantly changing and developing things. So this is about behavior. Sometimes you build things and people don't behave the way you want them to. So be aware of behaviors. This is the design toolkit. So basically the design toolkit is basically how to think about and implement service design. So it's a process, and it's a methodology that helps you step by step go through processes of thinking so that you come out at the other end. So in this, there's this, different people use different methodologies, but this is 4 stages. Discover. So discover, you're trying to find out. You're trying to find out, what do I need to know? Why? How are people behaving? What do I already know? What don't I know? What needs to be worked on? At the discovery phase, you know when people are doing the discovery phase wrong, because they start talking about solutions. They start saying things like, oh, we need this and we need that. So in the discovery phase, you should never have a solution, because you haven't discovered what the user needs. So you can't come up with a solution if you haven't spent the time understanding what those user needs are. And so often we're trying to, one of the rules is in the discovery phase, if you can't come up with a solution, because, and I'm sure if we all asked ourselves, the first thing we all want to do as humans is come up with a solution. So we always come up with a solution. Oh, we need this, or we need that, we need that. But in a sense, we very rarely spend enough time understanding what information's already there. What are our users actually saying? What do they actually need? Not what we may think they need. Just checking our assumptions. Is that right? Is that wrong? And so once you have all that information, all those little bits and pieces, you may then start to say, okay, I've got all that information. Let me hone down on what are the crucial bits of information. Let's see what the insights, what have I learned now from this, I think. And then from what I've learned, you can say, okay, I didn't, it might be an insight into something different. And from then you start saying, okay, let me develop some prototypes. You can see in this case, it's 4 different prototypes, and there are 4 different prototypes that we're going to test those prototypes. And then from the testing, then you know what you're going to start to do and develop. And then that might be still a small thing. And then you start to develop it from there. You let it grow to what works, and you add what works, you keep going. What doesn't work, you got rid of. In this case, you can see that parts of the initial have been, developed to the next one. So these, I'll go through this, I'll leave that, because that's the what's happened. That's design. So just another example of design problems with this. This is a USB. If anybody's used this, basically, you use it, and the amount of times I plug it in the wrong way around, and I have to pull it back out and twist it around, put it in. It's always, there is only one. You can easily pick it up and put it in the wrong way. Quite different to this design of a 3-pin plug. There is only one way of doing this. You can never get it wrong. And you can see in terms of design, sometimes if you think through, you can actually make things work a bit better. This is a sign in a school. You don't matter, give up. So what a sign to put up for children, or is it you matter, don't give up? So sometimes how you design things can give completely the wrong messages. So the the platform gives you it's actually based on the opportunity to solve a real life challenge that your organization is working on. So the course actually focuses on individuals and organizations thinking about a problem themselves. So the idea is they're starting to look at an issue, using the methodology to think of an issue. So they're going through the process. So it allows you to dedicate time, space to test out new ideas and processes, learn new things about your service, users and their needs, and receive a mentoring guidance from experts. So the platform, Yeah, learns how to develop digital services, person-centered through service design methodology, to experiment with new digital tools and gain access to design toolkit and resources. So this I'm going to run through this quickly because people always think, I always think, oh, people talk to me about a course and I think, well, what am I going to do in the course? I'd like to know what would it do. So give you an idea, that 4 is 4 hours. So there's like an introduction for 4 hours. Some of it's group activity, some of it's individual activity through an online Moodle platform, e-learning platform. And there's a discover. You can see those different stages. And then you would do a knowledge board, plan your conduct your user research, attend a meeting. So the next stage would be define, 4 hours based on that. So these are, this is probably weeks as well. So it's tends to be 6 to 8 week course. To develop group activity, ideation sessions, develop your prototypes and test them. And that goes into do it, group activities, launch your service design project at the end of it, and just some personal development. So that gives you an idea of the course. 6 weeks, about 4 or 5 hours of per week, and it's through an online platform. Okay. I'm going to now switch screens. Hopefully it all works. I'm going to stop sharing that one. And I am going to, I'll play you, there's a video being produced. I'm going to play that because someone spent a lot of time producing a great video. So I'm going to let it play. It's only about 2 minutes, 2 minutes 37. So that'll give you another part around the service design. So I'm just going to share screen again. My sound is on. Hopefully you can see that. Is that okay? Is that visible? And I'm going to play the video.
Develop.
Oh, let's take it back. Oh, is that okay, full size?
As technology advances, young people are accessing information and using services differently. That means that youth work too has to adapt quickly to make sure it continues to meet young people's changing needs. Service design is a process that can help you rethink and innovate the services you offer. It's an approach that helps us to think creatively, get to the root of the problem, test out our ideas, and find solutions that work. The Design Training Course and Toolkit aims to bring this expertise into youth information work. The process we're using has 4 stages: discover, define, develop, and do it. At the first phase of the process, you'll conduct a piece of research with the aim to fully understand the needs, behaviours, and experiences of the young people you're designing for. During the define phase, you'll spend time analysing and looking closely at the information and insights you've gathered. You'll define the most important points to focus on and set the direction of your design challenge. In the develop phase, you'll come up with ideas and build small prototypes to test them. The last phase is called do it, because this is where you'll finally evolve your ideas, build and implement the solutions. The Design Training Course and Toolkit will help you to develop your understanding of service design and how you can apply this to youth work.
You are muted, Marco.
Thank you very much. That was a test. No. Okay, so This is so what you're seeing here is the e-learning platform. I just thought I'd show you what the e-learning platform looks like. Again, as a learner, I always find I want to understand what would I actually do. So you can see that there's the videos are embedded in there, and you've got the different stages here taking place, and it allows for group activity and individual activity and interaction with the tutors, etc. So if I show you some of this is number 2. You'll see that this one's actually bilingual because we work bilingually in Welsh and English. So that's the Welsh language. And what I thought, this is one of the individual activities, the knowledge board. So if I show you that. So this is one person's knowledge board, Cardiff Youth-led grant panel. This is something that Jamie put together. Tutors Ariel, who was instrumental developing all this. And this is, I'm not sure you'll be able to read that, but this knowledge board is one of the activities, so the sets of activities that help you through the process. And this is a knowledge board. The problem area says low application number of Cardiff Youth-led grant funding. That's the problem that they're trying to deal with. And then here there is 3 headings: what we know, things you know for certain and why, what we think we know, the things you need more evidence for, and the last one, what we don't know. So he's put it is a he, I think, yeah. So he's put what we don't know is what is important to young volunteers. What is the most effective way to do it? Where do young people find out about events in the area? That's what they don't know. So you can see the process. There's a sets of resources and to lead through the whole process. So at the end, you can do that. So hopefully that gives you a sense. I think I've stopped sharing now. Yeah, so that hopefully gives you a sense of the course, the why you do it. You know, that it is about being more effective and more focused on what's required to be produced, to not waste your time doing the wrong things, and to constantly learn and create better services and products. And then I give you, I hope you get a flavor of what the course is like, and the amount of time and the use of that online Moodle platform. So that's it from me. So if you have any questions or etc., I'm quite happy to try and answer to the best of my ability.
Thanks, Marco, for that informative explanation about design and also introducing for me it was the first time the lean concept as well, because I agree with you that we go for mass production, we think, and then after all we end up sometimes frustrated because we put a lot of hours and a lot of work, and then we notice that few young people would participate or show up, in our case, because we work with young people. So what I would invite now the participants, those of you who have any questions. I know that someone asked about the course, if how the dates and how they could know when they could apply and all things. But I would invite you to widen the questions on how and also think of how can you relate these concepts with the work we do as well in the decision-making process with young people. So I'll take the first. I'll find the question which was asked. Are there any specific dates when the online course is going?
So I think a lot of that is Erica will be working out. There's none at the moment set up, but I think because it's only been, I think it was tested, is piloted, and then run once. We're running it in Wales because it's just we do a lot, and so we're running it across Wales. But I think it's Erica will be looking. I suppose Simon is just checking with Erica when, if there is demand, I'm sure they will set one up. Yeah. So there's nothing specific at the moment, but it's all ready to go.
Okay. So one thing I would invite some of the audience maybe also follow Erica and see, and what we could do is also we can I can share a contact as well where you can get in touch with Erica directly as well. So Eva.
Hi, Marco. Thank you very much for this interesting input. I'm curious to know, can any organization launch a course on this infrastructure? So is it open for various organizations, or is it mainly like an infrastructure used by Erica and by, of course, the members of your consortium?
It's Erica's Moodle platform. So they're the ones who you know, they use it for well, this is one of the courses on it, but I think they have a number of other courses on there around youth information. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious because it's nice. It's quite good to see that so structured. And as for the courses, is there a possibility to sign in to a newsletter or something to get to know the information about when a course might take place in the future?
Yeah, again, that will be, I think that'll be Erica, Simon. I think you have contacts with Erica, and Imre would probably be able to supply how to sign into their newsletter.
Thank you.
I'm going to share the contacts page with you. So, and
you know, sometimes we do the training on the Erica courses. In this case, we're doing, because they were doing specifically for Wales, we're just doing them. So we have about 35 organizations on one at the moment from various backgrounds.
So, any more questions? I'm
happy to talk about the sea again.
About what?
The sea.
Yeah. Now I got you.
It's what I would say is that it's a strange one, because it is sometimes a change in thinking. You know, it's not you know, and it's hard to understand a whole course that, you know, to explain a whole course within 10 minutes, you know, 30 minutes. It's not, you know, people do degrees in service design, you know, people who do masters in service design, they will do, so it's not something that is light, you know, but it is, I just try to provide you the background concepts of why, you know, why these things are, you know, the different ways of thinking that is happening. And it is very strong movement. I know it's being, you know, in terms of, because it started off in production in terms of, you know, like manufacturing, but the process has developed widely now into healthcare, you know, right across the board. I know in, you know, so it's no longer just something that sits in manufacturing.
In fact, sorry, because I turned on off my camera. So, in fact, one interesting thing, I don't know if you could share a practical example of an organization that used this approach.
Okay, well, maybe I'll talk back to the, you know, some of the examples of some of the stuff we've done. So we were asked by Public Health Wales. Public Health Wales wanted to provide better information, or how they wanted to see how young people were accessing information about their sexual health in Wales. So they asked us to look at that. And so we started looking at working with young people, etc., and saying, well, what is out there at the moment? How are people reacting to what information they see? So we did work directly with young people and found out more evidence on what was going on. And then we asked, and I think I give you a little bit of example there. When we asked so what we did, he said, okay, we met with groups of young people, and we said to them, well, okay, we want you to find out what is your behavior? What do you do? So we're going to give you a scenario, and we're going to ask you to let us know your what you would do with the scenario. The scenario is that you've gone into school and you found out that the person that you have a relationship with and you had sex with last night has found out they have chlamydia. They have a sexually transmitted disease. What are you going to do? What would you do? If that was the case, what would you do? So young people went off and got on their phones and they found out lots of information. And then we asked them, well, what did you find out? So they showed us all the information they found out. So we got a sense of what they actually did and why they did it. Then we found out that they found out things, when they went through it, they found out things like, actually, that if I have chlamydia, I do not go to the clinic for at least 2 weeks, but if I turn up, they're only going to tell me to go home because none of the symptoms are due. So, okay, so we found out then that they found out the information. But then we asked them, okay, so right, so we've got the information, what are you going to do now? So they said, we would go to the clinic tomorrow, or we'd go now. So we thought, hold on, that's really crazy. So 1 minute you're telling us that you can find out all of it. So all the research was leading us to finding out that, yes, you can find out the information, but for some reason, you're now not going to follow the information. So then we said, okay, so you're not going to follow the information. Okay, so what is it? Why is that? And so they'd say, well, we're worried, we're scared, it doesn't seem right, it doesn't seem. So then we start saying, okay, what is it would change your behavior? So they said things like, well, actually, if I could see a video of a doctor telling me, explaining it to me a bit better, I'd feel more comfortable, I'd feel more relaxed, I would do that. Okay, so it's that. Then they said, okay, actually, when I look at all this information, it's a bit all over the place, so I'm not quite sure I'm seeing the right information. So then we prototyped a couple of things. One thing we prototyped was a logic tree. So a logic tree is like you say, okay, so are you heterosexual? Are you, what age are you? What's the symptoms? And then it leads them through a whole process. And at the end of the day, it just comes out, okay, you've asked all these questions and at the end it says, this is what you need to do. Do not do this. And then we said, okay, we then started producing the videos they wanted to, so that they could get the information that the users told us they need to make sense of it all. And then we produced that. And then we test, and those sometimes are very small things, and then we tested them. Did they work? And then we found that it does work, that people do that. And then it went that far, and then we're trying to develop it further. So that gives you an example of like what we actually did in that case. So it's using that methodology to think to. At the moment, we're working the Samaritans. I don't know if you've heard of the Samaritans. So the Samaritans UK have come to us and asked us to work with them to make their services more user-friendly, because they feel that their services don't really work well with young people. They work well generally, but young people are a bit scared of Samaritans. So we will use the same process to go, okay, so why is it, you know, what is making you scared of the process? Why as a young person do you feel uncomfortable about ringing? What is it? And then we ask, well, what do we need to do to change to make that work? So the whole process but what I say about this is one of those things that it works when you spend the time going through all those processes to come at the end of it, because it isn't like about, there is an answer. There isn't an answer. We're working. So the problem with service design, and it's very hard for funders, because they always want an answer. And we're saying we don't know the answer. Because if we knew the answer, we'd all be rich. But we're not rich because we don't know the answer. So we got to, but the process will help us understand the answer. So in a sense, we never know what the result is at the end of it. If we know the answer, then we're doing it wrong. Okay, we may do it and find out our assumptions were right, but very often I've never gone through a process and learned something new, or learned that I'm doing something wrong, or even confirming the right bits. Is that ever?
Yeah, I think, and this is very much interesting and in line with decision-making process that we try to involve young people in deciding about something, and sometimes we don't have the right answer, and that's why we try to involve them and extend it, and also use different ways, just not also including the digital part. Eva, I noticed that you have your raised hand.
Yeah, exactly. I was curious to know how did you guys reach out to the youth, or which methodologies do you use to do your research with them and to find out what their needs are? Do you use like online questionnaires, or do you do workshops with them?
We use everything in any way. You know, the reality is we spent a lot of time online, so we're quite good at doing that kind of work. But we will do face-to-face group work. You know, I think sometimes what we're also aware of is that we're not trying to get, this isn't a research project where we're trying to get a couple of thousand people doing something. We're trying to get insights. So this isn't an academic research that has to verify its sources. It's nothing to do with that. It's trying to get research. So often it's like smaller groups of people you can really dig deep and say, why is it this is not working for you? Why is it something is, you know, and also the part of it is back to the behavior thing. And where it works really well with youth work is that youth workers are used to the idea of participation. So participation isn't a strange word to a youth worker. Everybody so participation is a very key thing. That's why I think it works quite well. And then the only other thing I would add to that is that the behavior is spending time on behavior. So it's not just what people say, but how will they behave? Because there's two different things. And then the next bit is a production process. So a production process that thinks about prototyping and learning, not just suddenly producing something. So it's tying up those different methodologies of, you know, finding out behavior, but also there's a production process that isn't about just producing one thing. And the other thing is never produce one thing. You've never finished. You've never finished.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I don't know if there are any other questions, but we're almost at the end of our webinar. What I would, and we had plenty of points shared as well. So run quickly. So what I'm going to share now with you is the Padlet. I just shared it on the chat as well. And may I invite you maybe to find a couple of minutes to share with us what you have learned today, and what other things you would like us to explore next time we meet. And if you have any general feedback, that would be really helpful for us. Okay, so I'll some more time for some points to be shared. Mhm. So if you want to follow any of the OPIN community meetings, I can invite you also to follow either go on the DIGY website, DIGY, and there you can find the different community meetings as well, and also access the open.me and find the different meetings that we had. We you can subscribe to our newsletter as well, and you would receive any updates from us right away. I'm doing the same mistake every time. And the last the last thing, I don't think, Anita, we have the date set for our next OPIN community meeting.
No, the date is not set yet, but it will be in June.
Yes, good. And I think that will be one of our last OPIN community meetings, because our project is also approaching the end of its cycle. Thank you again. Thank you, Marco, for your input. Again, I left in the chat the where we can contact Erika for more information about this design project and more information about the course. Again, thank you all for your participation, and I wish you a nice day and a pleasant week, and happy Easter for those who celebrate Easter in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you, and thank you, Marco, for great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
day.
Bye.